Daniel, the Rockets have been the favorites to dethrone the Warriors for a long time, but it hasn't been that way the entire season. They had a rusty streak there. They couldn't defend for a while. It looked like they were discombobulated. What changed from then to now?
And I think for them, it's just they got healthy. I mean, Chris Paul was suspended. Clint Capella was out. They had that Daniel House situation. He was in there. He played well, but then they couldn't figure out his contract. Lots of different lineups. Austin Rivers comes in. Kenneth Faried comes in. But they're finally healthy. And one thing about this Rockets team, if there's one team the Warriors do not want to see, it's the Rockets. The Rockets play them well. They know them well. And I think the Rockets are deeper this year than they were last year, which bodes well, especially now since they'll be facing the Warriors in the second round, not the third. So, you know, that playoff grind isn't so deep with the team at that point.
So before they get there, they have to take care of business against the Utah Jazz.
Right.
Now, that's a series that you're familiar with, of course, in a different round, but for the most part, the same teams. What are your impressions of the Jazz versus the Rockets?
Yeah, I think a couple of things stand out with the Jazz this year. They'll have Ricky Rubio. Last year he got hurt in the first game, or early on in that series against the Rockets in the second round. But the Jazz get out to the perimeter really well. They allow the least amount of three-point shots against any team in the NBA. As we all know, the Rockets, that's all they do is shoot three-pointers. So they have to be consistent. They have to mix it up. Last year, Chris Paul was able to get in the lane a lot against Utah, and that flustered the heck out of the Jazz. That's why they dominated the Jazz over there in Utah in those two games. But I think in this series, they have to do that same thing, and Eric Gordon has to come up big. Gordon's only 5 of 26 against the Jazz this year, and if Gordon's shooting lights out like he usually does, or like he can, the series is over.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because one of my biggest concerns with the team is the usage of James Harden. He's done so much for the team throughout the season, and his career has pretty much been that since he's been with the Rockets. When you look at this team, you mentioned Eric Gordon. How critical is it to see more from the supporting cast going forward?
Well, like I mentioned, this team is a lot deeper than they were last year. So now when James is out of the game, they can go to different lineups, a different mix. They can go smaller. When Capella's out, they can go to Tucker at the 5, like we were talking about before earlier today. They can go to Kenneth Faried. They can go to Dene. They have different bodies they can throw in there. And they have some shooters on the outside. Daniel House is perfect for this team. He fits the system really well. Shumpert, when he's on, is great because he can get out on the perimeter and Harden or Chris Paul can find him. So yeah, Harden's going to be carrying the heavy load for the squad, but he's got a lot more help this year than I think he's had in the past.